Neal, Disney has been on a Tower of Terror ride this year. Its stock hit a decade low this month. It's still in a feud with Ron DeSantis, and most of the new Marvel movies kind of stink. That's my personal opinion on that last one there. So, what's the answer to its turmoil? Spend more money, baby. Disney said yesterday that it will invest $60 billion into its global parks and cruise lines over the next 10 years. That's over double its investments from the last decade. Disney hasn't said exactly what they'll do with that chunk of change yet, but we're likely to see more rides within the parks based on valuable IP like Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy. There's even rumors circulating that we could see a Wakanda section of the park brought to life. This is all part of Disney CEO Bob Iger's grand plan to lean on the parks business as well as its movie studios and streaming divisions over the next 5 years to generate growth. But there's a lot riding on the parks biz in particular, since Disney Plus doesn't look like it's going to be profitable in the near future, and cable is still definitely riding the struggle bus. Neal, I feel like this was Bob Iger kind of drawing a line in the sand saying, yes, we've been beaten down a little bit, but we're still Disney, we still got our fastball, and we're going to make sure that when you eat that $24 turkey leg, it's going to be in the most magical place on earth.
It definitely seems like they are leaning into the parks business. I don't know if I guess it's a position of strength in the parks business because that is the area of the unit of their company that's growing. But I think it does reflect a lot of these bigger existential issues that are facing the other parts of the company. Like you said, cable is down bad. ESPN is just not the cash cow that it was. A bunch of other streaming services are buying the rights to live sports. I want to talk about the box office because Disney's known as, a box office behemoth. I remember the days 5 to 10 years ago when you would go down the box office list and look at the top movies of the year, and 8 out of 10 would be Disney. And it had just a horrible summer. The new Indiana Jones was a complete flop. And then Disney Plus has a ton of competition in the streaming space, and I don't think it's made a name for itself. Meanwhile, the parks business is the only area of this company that is growing right now. It brought in 80% of its profits and accounted for a third of its total revenue. So this is I don't know if this is from a position of strength. $60 billion is a ton of money, but I think they're just this is the only area of our business that's growing right now. We have to feed the beast.
Yeah, if we look at what that beast is, its theme parks will generate an estimated $10 billion in profit this year. That's up from just $2.2 billion a decade ago. So clearly they see that there's more growth on the horizon. Roughly 121 million people visited Disney Park in 2022. It really did rebound quite nicely from the COVID shutdowns. There's also, it just costs so much more money to go to the parks. The average spending per guest at Disney parks has increased 42% since just 2019. Part of that has to do with just inflation in general, but it also is a conscious effort by Disney to raise the prices. What did confuse me a little bit about this big announcement, though, is that remember the first thing that Bob Iger did when he stepped back in as CEO was shut down the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel, which was this really expensive, really over-the-top hotel experience that his predecessor kind of poured a lot of money in. And he was like, it was just too...
Maybe it sucked.
Too expensive. It could have just not been good. But then he comes back a year later and goes, we're going to spend a ton of money on this park. So it was interesting to see kind of those two things parallel.
Maybe they think the Star Wars IP is a little tapped out at this point. People have fatigue. Meanwhile, there are all of these other films that have not yet had an in real life presence, like Coco, Zootopia, Encanto, Black Panther, like you mentioned. So maybe he thinks there's a little more fruit to be, I don't know where I'm going with this metaphor, low-hanging fruit, I guess is that one?
Yeah, you got it,
to be had with this other IP. I also want to talk about cruises because Disney is investing in 3 more ships. It has 5 currently. It's going to add 3 to its fleet, so it has 8. There's going to be a new one based in Singapore that has 6,000 rooms. So this thing is going to be massive, 6,000 passengers. So this is a big part of its business. It's building another port in the Bahamas. So it's really being constrained on land because it has about 1,000 acres that it can possibly develop. But everyone thinks Disneyland is kind of tapped out. It's in a small area in Anaheim, and they have a dispute with the city. Meanwhile, in Florida, we know that Disney is withholding $17 billion of investment while it works things out with DeSantis. So there's not a lot of expansion opportunities in terms of land. So I guess it's saying, look, the oceans are mostly unexplored. Why don't we take to there?
Hey, Thanks for watching. And if you want more Morning Brew Daily, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And also check out the rest of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts.
New episodes drop at 7 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, and you can email us at morningbrewdaily@morningbrew.com.